YouTube, how's it going? Welcome back to the channel. Today, guys, it is the start of the week and we have a new deck profile for you guys today. So this is Dark Worlds. Now, instead of the typical Danger Dark Worlds that you have been seeing in YouTube or since the new selection pack has been released, I really wanted to try branded Dark Lords. And so far, during my research, I've known that the branded and Dark Worlds doesn't really coexist that much. So if ever you use branded fusion, you'll immediately be locked into fusion monsters only. So you can only be summoning the Grapha Dragon Overlord of the Dark World. That is why I tested out a few hours ago some of the best combos that you can use with the Dark Worlds that doesn't really immediately go into the branded fusion. So you can do your combos first and then brand infusion afterwards. But yeah, here is the deck profile that I am willing to share to you guys. And I checked on YouTube and other sites like Card Cluster or even YugiOh Pro deck. So there's not much that you can see with Danger or branded Dark Worlds. Only Danger Dark Worlds. Here's the deck list. 3 copies of Maxi, 1 copy of King of the Swamp. This is typically a search on your polymerization. And of course, this one sent to the graveyard as well. You can go or use this card as a fodder for any other requirement. For examples, special summoning the Grapha Overlord monster, or even some of your branded cards to your side of the field. So that is a really good add-on for this. 3 copies of Ash Blossom, 1 copy of Beige. So Beige is another good card that you can add for your deck. There is a tendency that I really wanted to work with 2 copies of Lucent, but so far Lucent is a level 6. It could have been better if he is a level 4 though. But like I said earlier, Lucent is another good card that you can actually use for a deck. Once discarded to the graveyard, it can be special summoned back to the field. Secondary effect, it can special summon 1 fiend monster from your deck to the field. So that is a really good card. But I will go with Beige at this point on because it is a level 4, and of course, once discarded, it can be special summoned to the field as well. 3 copies of Snow, of course. Once discarded, you can search out any Dark Lord card that you'll need for your combo. That's a really good add-on for your deck. 2 copies of Fallen of Albaz, 2 copies of Alibard Jester of Despia, 2 copies of Tier Elements Sharon. Now, Sharon is a really good add-on for the deck since it has the discard capability of a Tier Element, and once this card is sent to the graveyard alongside King of the Swamp, then you have immediately 1 fusion summon of the Dragonlord Overlord to the field, or any fusion summon monster that you wish to summon to the field. So that is one good kicker to have in your deck alongside the branded Dark Lords. 2 copies of Cartesian. Now, I have been debating by myself whether or not just to use 1 copy of Cartesia for this build, but even so, having 2 copies of this immediately goes or allows me to go into efficient play during your starting hand. So I'm just gonna go with 2 copies as well. And then we have 3 copies of Genta. So Genta allows you to search out your field spell, and if your field spell alongside 1 other Dark World monster, you can discard the other card from your hand and then banish Genta from the graveyard, allowing it to special summon from the banished pile to your side of the field. 2 copies of Salamander, the Catalyzer. So this is our new card that was added into the selection pack. So having to discard 1 fiend or spell summon that fiend from your hand is a really good add-on or a really good synergy for the Dark Worlds, and that is why majority of my cards here are Dark Worlds as well. 1 copy of Lucid as well, I've talked about it earlier. Now the Bestial Engine, I'm just going to work with 1 copy of Magnamut and 1 copy of Drewsworm. Just a really good card to add on to the deck if ever you're going up against a Tier Elements deck as well, or even a branded deck, since that is frequently I've been playing up against in ranked. 2 copies of Grapha, of course. 1 copy of Ad Libitum. I really like to have this in most of my branded decks as well. 3 copies of Rainbow. Rainbow is a really good card. It kind of works the same way as Grapha if it is in the graveyard. Bounces back 1 Dark World monster from the field and special summons itself to the field. It's just amazing. And then we have 1 polymerization from the King of the Swamp, 2 copies of Brand Infusion because we're just limited to 2, 2 copies of the Gates of the Dark World. You really want this card to be searched from the Genta, or even if you have this in your starting hand, much better of course, as long as you have another copy of your Dark World monster. 1 copy of Archives. Archives is a really good card on the field. It allows you to draw 2 cards, just replenishing your hand for that matter. 2 copies of Called by the Grave, 2 copies of Branded Opening, a really good discard effect for most of your Dark World cards, 1 copy of Branded in Red from the Aliber Search if ever you already have a copy of the Fusion, and lastly 1 copy of Dark World Ascension, allowing you to banish your Dark World monster from your graveyard out of play to spell summon majority of the cards. You'll go for the Dragon Overlord to the field. So that is basically your main deck there, guys. Now I know there are 45 cards in this deck. You can cut the number of these cards out if ever you wish. Just remove the Cartesia or even a copy of Salamander or even a copy of Beige. But so far having 45 cards is just enough for the deck to actually work. And then for your extra deck, guys, you'll have 1 copy of Garura. You can use this card for the effect of Grand Ganule, 2 copies of Albion the Branded, 1 copy of Quartus, and 1 copy of Proskinian for the effect of Grand Ganule as well. 2 copies of Mirror Jade, 1 copy of Lebellion. You just have to recycle this back by the effect of Lebellion. And then you can have another copy of Mirror Jade just in case one will be inactive or it's going to be banished out of play. 1 copy of Grand Ganule, 1 copy of Guardian Chimera, 2 copies of Grapha, Dragon Overlord of the Dark World, 1 copy of Proskinian, 1 copy of the Urdigaris the Timeless, 1 copy of your Coach King, and 1 copy lastly for your Pearl Plant Verte Anaconda if ever you can't search out a copy of your Branded Fusion. So that is basically your deck profile there, guys. Let's move towards the replays and I'll showcase you guys how I played this deck even though the synergy is not that on par. So let's go with the replays and I'll see you guys in the outro. Alright guys, so here we are with the replays. So to start off, our opponent is going first. We have 1 Ash Blossom, 2 copies of Snow, 1 Genta, and 1 Ad Libitum of Despia. So at this point on here, we're going up against a Labyrinth deck. So he's gonna go for Extravagance. Luckily, we have an Ash Blossom here to negate that Extravagance. And I think he just set a T set here. So there you go, a T set. On our turn, we draw into a Maxi. That's really, really good. We go for Genta, searching out for the field spell. Our opponent is going to special summon an Ariana, I think. We chain with Maxi here. But our opponent is going to chain with Maxi also. So this is going to be a race against time. So my problem here is basically if he searched out a copy of Kuklak and then go towards another copy of face down trap card that he can search with another Furniture Labyrinth. So that's my problem there. But let's see. So we draw into a Sharon. That's really good. We got the gates from the Genta, and he has a big welcome already on hand. So that's really interesting though. Go for the field spell, banish our Genta, discarding our Snow. The field spell will draw us into a Branded Fusion. The Snow will search out a copy of Archives, and the Genta will spell summon itself to the field, allowing him to draw 1 more card. So go for the Archives once more, discard 1. That's the other copy of Snow. Snow will get us a copy of, I think I got here a copy of Ascension. So Archives allow us to draw 1 card by discarding 1. So we got a Rainbow here. That's really good. Go for Branded Open, discarding the Rainbow, getting a copy of Albert on our hand. We don't want to spell summon because we're under Maxi. Rainbow will get us a copy of Gratha here and go for Ascension right now. So at this point on, I just wanted the Overlord on the field. If ever he has the Kuklak, we can negate that effect. So that's really good. So Gratha will pop that face down card. It was the Backjack, so he's going to use the effect of the Backjack early on. Use the effect of Albert, get a copy of Branded in Red. But I was thinking, it's not going to be relevant enough whether or not I use the Branded in Red, so might as well going to discard this one later on. So at this point, we go for Sharon to the graveyard from the Branded Fusion, and alongside the Fallen of Albaz. So Lebellion, discarding the red. Sharon used the effect. And then we have our, I think I summoned here Quartus. Quartus to the field and a Mirror Jade afterwards from the Lebellion summon. So there we go. And the best part about this is Quartus and Proskinian are Fiend monsters as well. That includes also Masquerade. So really interesting to summon on the board. But I'm just using Proskinian here and Quartus. So I'm gonna banish the Ariana here. I did not see that he dropped a copy of the Big Welcome from the Chandraglier. So that was really bad on my part. Luckily, my only target here was Cortes to banish, and I have game already. Anywho, so that is basically it. He bounced back a copy of Ariana. I'm just worried if ever he is a Kuklok, but nevertheless, I have my Dragon Overlord for that matter. So with that, he's going to use the effect of Backjack, sending a copy to the graveyard because it wasn't a trap. Of course, it was Kuklok for that matter. So at this point on, he got a copy of the Chandelier. Doesn't really matter at this point. Ascension is going to be back to my hand. I don't know why I did that, but yeah. Just went for attack, and this was the game. There we go. So that was game number 1. Let's go towards game number 2. Alright guys, so here we are with game number 2. So we are going up against a going second Kaiju deck. And we have a starting hand of 1 Ash Blossom, 1 Genta, 1 Bestial Magnemite, 1 Rainbow, and 1 copy of Branded Opening. So that is a really good starting hand for that matter. So to start off, we go for Genta, search out a field spell, but we got interrupted for his very own Ash Blossom. Now I will just go chain with the Branded Opening, pitching in a copy of Rainbow to the graveyard to search out a copy of Grappa. Now Albert is going to be summoned to the field, searching our Branded Fusion afterwards. So yeah, immediately Rainbow just triggered because it is a trigger effect, so he was the first in the chain line. And yeah, we got a copy of Grappa out of it. We go for Branded Fusion, sending a copy of our Sharon and our Fallen Valvas to the graveyard. We go for Lobelion here. So Lobelion will pitch in a copy of Grappa to the graveyard, and then with Sharon we'll fuse into the Dragon Overlord, sorry. And with our Lobelion, we will go for our typical Mirror Jade play. Now, since our graveyard doesn't have any Despia monster or Fallen Valvas, we just use the effect of Mirror Jade during our opponent's turn. So having 1 Albert face up in the field. So that is it. On our opponent's turn, he just Gamma Sealed my Dragon Overlord, so it was really sucky. He's trying to draw 2 cards from the Desires, but we got Ash Blossom for that, so that's really good. And he, on top of all that, we got Evenly Matched. So we just have to save Mirror Jade, and he just bricked into 2 cards on hand. So really interesting. Luckily on our turn, we got a copy of Albert right here, draw into Albert. We got a Branded Fusion, go for another play into a Sharon, into the Fallen Valvas, and go for a Lobelion. Now Lobelion will pitch in a copy of Magnemite to the graveyard, and with the effect of Sharon, we will go into a Prescanian summon. So with that, Prescanian is going to be activated, and since I don't have another good targets in the graveyard, I might as well special summon Garura to the field. And with that, Garura on the field, we are game. So 3k32 plus 1/5, but it's doubled because of the effect of Garura, and we have more than lethal. So that's it. That is game number 2. Alright guys, so game number 3, and we're going up against tier elements. Not really the best of meta deck that to go up against, but we can manage. Since we have Ash Blossom, 1 Snow, 2 copies of Genta, and 1 Polymerization. So the Genta is a really good search for our field spell. So our opponent is going first. Go for a Foolish Burial Goods, sending a Solek to the graveyard. I really wanted the goods to go off just to check what deck I'm going up against. So Solek is trying to search out a tier element monster. We will ash this one. You might say it wasn't a really good target, but it was, because I think he only has 1 copy of tier element monster on hand, so that was really good on my part. But Divine is going to be activated, sending a copy of Kelbeck. Luckily, the Mills wasn't really that good on his part, but it was really good on my side as well. So not it would benefit me, but it would benefit him. The 2 Albert, the 1 copy of Albert and the 2 copies of Fallen Valvas was just insane to be milled, and then 1 copy of Branded Opening. So insanely good on his part to mill those cards on my part. But yeah. For that, Scream and Heartbeat is going to recycle 1, and then Scream is going to get a copy of Crime. And then I think Heartbeat is going to get a copy of, yeah, Solek. So at this point on, he's just going to use the effect of Snow, banishing 7, spell summoning Snow to the field. And with that, he can go for Baron the Floor. And so on. With that, Baron on the floor on the field, setting 2 cards on the back, and that is his board right there. So 1 negation, and I'm pretty sure the 2 back rows is the Crime and the Sulic. So we draw into a Call by the Grave, really insane. So that's really good in case we will get max seed. We'll go for Genta, getting a copy of our field spell here. Use the effect of our field spell, trying to banish our Genta, and trying to pitch in a Snow to the graveyard. Sadly, our activation is negated, or negate its activation. But we have another copy of Genta, so that's really good. So use the effect of Genta once more. Genta once more, get a field spell, banishing our Genta, pitching in our Snow. Snow will prompt an effect, and Genta will be spell summoned to the field. Luckily for that, we got a brand new opening from that draw. Our opponent is trying to use Maxi. We got Called by the Grave. Luckily for us. So I think the luck is going to our favor since our monsters were sent to the graveyard. So with that, special summon Genta to the field. And also we go for Grapha on hand. Since we have Polymerization, of course, that is one of my best choice. But branded openings will be activated, getting a copy of Albert to the field. And with, of course, Grapha, I really wanted to pop the Baron on the floor. I was really eager to pop the back row, but I just remembered, oh, it was the Sulic and the Crime. So lucky for that, go for Branded Fusion. And there we go. So my point here is bounce back the Genta from the Rainbow, and then normal summon the Genta once more, spell summoning our Grapha, and then use the Polymerization to fuse for my monster, the Albert and the Genta on hand, to go into another monster. I think the Quartus was my only target here. I couldn't use the effect of Branded Fusion because my 2 Alberts, my 2 Fallen Valbaz was in the graveyard. But yeah, we won that game, lucky for us. Alright, so those were the replays, and that was the deck profile for you guys today. If you like this kind of content, like and subscribe for more contents like this in the near future. And that is me signing off. Keep safe, good luck, and I'll see you guys in the next video. Bye bye.